That night was like a hangover movie. Like I said, we had everything. You had the police show up. There were drugs.
Who was this?
Someone got the shit beat out of them. We lost the guy. Didn't find him till the next day. Um, we ended up driving around town looking for the motherfucker, but never found him. Two guys were covered in blood, but one of them, it was in his blood.
Like Carrie blood or?
Like this cat freaking, bah, 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 and Buddy was bleeding everywhere. And then all, yeah. And all of a sudden he goes, hugs the motherfucker. They beat the shit out of him, yelling, "Fight him with kindness and love." Wow, Buddy that gets freaking hugged starts fucking flailing like, what the fuck do I do? Which that on its own was a surprise to me. I ain't never seen no one flail like that.
Like they're having a seizure?
Yeah. Standing up, and he couldn't get Buddy off of him that was hugging him.
Are you sure he wasn't having a seizure?
No, I know he wasn't, because I finally split it up. But by the time I split it up, it was a little late because I tried to use my words to break it up. But both of them looked my way and said, "Shut the fuck up, Dexter." So at that point, I kind of got butt hurt. And I just grabbed my shit and I took off walking. About halfway down the street is when I was like, man, you know what? I can't just leave like this. So I turned the fuck around and I go back to split the fight up again. And by that time that I split it up and trying to calm this guy down, the other cat's like, "Hey man, you got a cigarette? Hey man, you got a cigarette?" I'm like, "Shut the fuck up, man. This cat just beat the shit out of you. I'm trying to calm him down." But hold on. Here's a pack of cigarettes. I give him the pack to get one. And then I'm back trying to concentrate on this cat to calm him down, right? Then all of a sudden, buddy's like, "Hey man, you got a lighter too? I need a lighter. I ain't got no lighter." So I'm like, I don't know how I'm like at that point, but I somehow hand him a lighter, and he goes behind the car to start smoking while I'm in the front of the car with Buddy, trying to calm him down. And like I told you, there was crying because Buddy was trying to hold it in. I was like, "No, man, don't hold it in. Just cry. So he finally started crying, and he was like, "Man, I fucked up. Crying." And then he starts talking shit about people that weren't even there, which throws me the fuck off because I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Well, eventually that I finally calm everything down. The police show up. Told you the police came. So yeah, they show up. I tell them motherfuckers to run inside because I was the only one that was sober at the time and not hurt because I was not covered in blood. So it would make sense for me to stay out there because my game plan was, "Hey officer, nah, these two guys got drunk and they were arguing, but since they drank more than what they should have drank, I sent them inside to go to sleep, point blank." But no, these two cats are still out there saying, "You can't tell me what to do, Dexter." So at that point, the cops see all the blood on both of them.
And think murder.
No, I think they got an idea that someone got the shit beat out of them, and it was the other guy. Right? Well, they're interrogating both of them because they split the violator up, and the violator's like, "Am I getting charged? Am I under police investigation or something? Well, if not, well, we ain't got no reason to talk." And shit, throwing all his rights and this and that at the cop, and the cop's like, "Well, motherfuckers making it hard to talk, so he just doesn't fuck with them no more." While Buddy over here is drunk as shit, He's got his whole face pounded in, doesn't know what's going on. And Buddy's like, nah, man, we're just drinking, having a good time. And I don't fucking know when it happened, but that man comes out of his shirt and he's just got his man boobs hanging out. Yeah, I don't know how that happened, but it happened. And the cops just looking at him, they're like, what happened? He's like, I got drunk and I fell.
Did anyone check to see if he had a concussion?
Nope, they didn't. They just looked at him and they're like, you need to go to a hospital. And at that point, they're asking him, so what's that guy to you? And he's like, that's my brother. And he's like, oh, he's your brother. He's like, well, not really. He's not my brother, but he's my brother. And then they're like, what do you mean he's your brother but not your brother? He's like, well, I treat him like family, but he's not family. And then they split, they turned them around. So Buddy over here is talking to him. Now he's talking to the other officer and he's like, well, what's your badge number and what's your name? And he's giving them all that. And he's like, well, I plead the fifth because I ain't got nothing else to say to you. And
He's
stays
not on
quiet.
trial.
Huh?
He's not on trial.
Hey, but he can plead the fifth if he wants to. Because he doesn't have to answer any questions if he don't want to.
Yeah, you can just say, I want my lawyer.
Yeah. Well, after that, other buddy's talking to the officer. And he's just rambling because he's just shit-faced drunk. Doesn't even know what's going on. So finally they split me up. And then all that officer asked me is, do you live here? I'm like, no. What are you to them? I'm just a friend. Point blank. And then they just left me alone. After that, well, eventually the mom comes out. And now I have to translate everything that's going on there because they don't want Buddy to beat the shit out of Buddy to translate because he'll say whatever he wants. And then the other one's too shit-faced drunk to even know what's going on. Because he still didn't realize he got his shit beat out of him. So I'm translating because I'm the only one that's sober. Ironically. And she's like, well, oh, he fell. Well, I'll take him inside and clean him up. And the officer's like, whoa, in my opinion, we should call the ambulance and take him to the hospital. But she's like, nah, we'll see what's going on. Let me take him inside and check him out, and we'll see if we should take him to the hospital. And I'll wake up my husband to take him to the hospital, point blank, right? So what ends up happening is like, they're okay with it. But the officer's like, since there's not going to be no report done and no one's going to jail, I just need to take some pictures of you two just so that I don't lose my job. So see, at that point, the cop really didn't care what was going on. He just cared more about making another paycheck. So I stayed at that. Took some pictures of both of them. One of them started arguing with the cop because he didn't want his picture taken. And Buddy was like, man, this and that and this. And the officer said, man, I wouldn't really worry about it if you ain't got no warrants because it's going to run your face. And if you ain't got nothing on you, you ain't got no problems, you should be fine. I don't think Buddy was fine because he finally gets his picture taken, but they didn't really like it. Well, the cops...
They look at the photos and be like, I don't like that one I looked at.
No, they don't let you see the pictures. Well, the cops go, and I take them inside, but I'm over there like freaking, like one nosy neighbor just looking out the window hoping that they left. But the two cops are right there just in front of the house just hanging out, talking and whatnot. Well, I guess they ran that nigga's face. Huh? Nah, what ends up happening is they come back to the door, they're knocking while we're in the kitchen cleaning Buddy up from all the blood and whatnot. And I hear the knocking, so I go up to the door, open the door, freaking the two cops are standing there. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to say at this point. And all they tell me is, hey, can we speak with Hector? I'm like, just give me 1 second. And I go to close the door, but I'm kind of scared closing the door because I don't know if they're going to kick it in or something. But I slowly closed the door behind me. I wanted to lock it, but I didn't get that far. I just took off. And I make it to the kitchen. Once I get to the kitchen, I look at both of them and I'm like, hey man, the cops are looking for it. Want to talk to a Hector? And Buddy that beat the shit out of the other cat, he just looks at everybody and you can see that face on him. I'm going to jail. And that's when I'm like, give me whatever you have in your pockets right now because you don't want cash, no charges. So he ends up giving me his weed tray and his grinder and whatnot. So I take that from him. And he changes clothes, freaking tells everybody, I'll catch y'all later once I get out. Deuces, see ya, hasta la vista, bye-bye, you know. And then takes off walking. And I slowly, after he goes around the corner, walk right behind him. After he closes the door, so I look out the window. Because I wasn't going to step out there and be nosy, that nosy. Just nosy enough to peer out the window. And I see that they arrest him, take him to the back of the cop car, dilly-dally. And at that point, I'm like, well, I know where he's going to be. He's at the jail. So at that point, it's me and Buddy that's bleeding and his mom. His mom's cleaning him up. And I'm just out there smoking a cigarette like, damn, what the fuck are we going to do now? Right? They're talking about he might have to go to the hospital because he had a big old gash through his fucking face right here. It was pretty freaking deep. And it wouldn't stop bleeding. And from what I looked at it, because I'm not much of a doctor, but I could tell he needed at least 7 stitches. But I didn't want to volunteer and stitch him up myself. I could have and saved him some money, but I was like, this looks like it needs a professional.
Probably not sterile.
Hey, if you heat up the needle enough, you can sterilize it with heat.
Or just an alcohol.
That would burn. A hot needle would be better. I still believe a hot needle would be better. Dipped in alcohol? I don't know. But
So many people do.
okay, we'll burn it and sterilize it. But that's not what happened because I looked at him and I told him, in my judgment call, you should go to the hospital. And Buddy looked at his mama, looked at me, and he's like, Dexter said it, and I trust Dexter, so we're going to a hospital. So that's when we wait for a taxi to get a ride to the hospital. And I get the ride to the hospital. I get dropped off with Buddy's mom and him. We let him go inside, but they won't let us go inside the hospital because of COVID. And that shit tripped me the fuck out because they had fucking the military standing at the door and shit. And I was like, what the fuck did I just walk into? So I just stayed outside. I was like, man, we just had the police show up. Now we're standing in front of the army. Like, what the fuck's going on tonight? What the fuck? Huh?
It sounds like a movie.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's straight hangover. Because the nigga that got punched would be Stu. The guy that gets punched out by Mike Tyson.
Then he gets a face tattoo.
And see, the cat that went missing, that we still haven't found, is freaking Alan that gets locked up in the top of the hotel and just spends the whole fucking movie looking for him. Wait till you. There is a chain in this movie too.
Okay.
Because I would be Bradley Cooper. I came out unharmed, and I was throughout the whole freaking movie. Because yeah, we were at the hospital. And well, there's some lady there that's sick too, so we end up talking with her for a little while. And I decide, you know what, Buddy that's in jail, I need to get in contact with his baby mama. Just so that she knows where that motherfucker's at. Because a few hours ago, they were at a party together, and she might not know where the fuck this cat's at, and might wonder, alright? So that's what I do. I freaking I ain't got her number, so I ain't got no way of contacting her. So I'm over here thinking, how could I get in contact with this lady? So I get on Instagram because I remember I did have her Instagram and we were friends on Instagram. And what do you know? Her Instagram goes freaking off and she answers. And I'm like, you know what? We ain't spoken in a long time. I have no reason to call you right now. But I know you and him are divorced. But I figured since y'all were together and y'all have children together, you should know where your baby daddy's at. He's locked up. And that's when she's like, oh my God, this and that. And like, I could have been a dick and told you, why the fuck do I care? And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I knew that you might have been that. That's why I was explaining why. You could have just hung up and been like, ta ta ta. But what ends up happening is we're trying to figure out what his charges are and trying to figure out if he can get bonded out. And I'm explaining to her what's happened so far. Because we can't find one guy. The other guy's in the hospital. I'm just standing out there with the mother waiting. And well, at first the decision was drop him off. And then when she leaves back home, the mom leaves back home, I just go and meet up with the wife. Well, not wife because they're divorced. More like baby mama now. Which I wouldn't be surprised if child support comes in soon and gets involved in that relationship. But that's a story for another day. The game plan was I'll go and meet up with you where you're at so that we can discuss this and find out what his charges are. Because Buddy's already taken care of. He's with professionals in the hospital, so he's fine. And at that point, the decision was, yeah, she leaves and I freaking go that way. And I just wait on this cat's phone call when he's out of the hospital, so I go to the hospital. This lady does not leave. So I spent like an hour and a half on the phone talking with her. And the whole time she's over here throwing up, yelling. She's like, God damn, I'm drunk. Freaking. So her idea to sober up is go to the bathroom and start throwing up. So I'm hearing the whole thing. And all of a sudden I hear, God damn it, Dexter. I'm locked up I'm in a apartment with nothing but teenagers. I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, nigga, weren't you just a teenager like a couple of years ago? So you're not that far off. You're just a little more older than everybody else. But the funniest shit is, while she's throwing up and shit, all of a sudden you hear, hey man, Nicole said boys in one room, girls in another.
What is this, middle school?
I don't freaking know, because we were at a 15, so they had to be middle schoolers. You know? Eh? No, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Nothing but that. And once she finally sobers up, she's like, when are you coming? I was like, I'm not coming because this lady's still here and I don't want to leave her alone. And she's like, well, fuck it. All right, I'll meet you up at the hospital. But when I go, she's like, she's going to get her homegirl to give her a ride to the hospital because she left her car at the party because she was too fucking drunk to drive. So they held her car hostage and then kidnapped her and took her to that apartment full of teenagers. But she had to maintain order while she was there. Yeah, the responsibility was thrown out the window as soon as, I don't know when responsibility was thrown out the window, but I feel like it was thrown out the window as soon as everybody left that party. So, yeah, there was absolutely no responsibility going on. So I'm not surprised if one of them kids got pregnant by now. Well, she left them kids alone and came over here. But, see, I talked to her and I told her I was going to be there. She's like, wait, just hang out there and wait. And I'm like, well, fuck it. All right. I'm waiting. And I'm like, man, she's still sobering up, trying to find a ride. She's going to take a minute. So I walk around the hospital looking for a smoke area because I didn't want to get shot up by the police. Well, not the police, the army, because the army was there for some reason. And I'm still kind of a little PTSD about that shit. Where's the fucking because of COVID, obviously, but still. I walk around, no freaking smoke area around the fucking hospital. So I go to the front reception where they told me I can't walk into the fucking hospital, and I asked Buddy, "Hey man, you think where's the smoke area so I can smoke a cigarette because I'm stressed out right now. Your military people here aren't helping, and I don't want to get shot for smoking a cigarette." And Buddy laughs at what I say. He's like, "Nah, just go across the street on the other side of the parking lot, and you'd be fine. That's the smoke area." So I'm like, "Well, fuck it." I head that way, and I hang out for a little while, and that's when I remembered they gave me a number so I can call and find out how Buddy's doing while he's in the hospital. I call that number, and they tell me that he just came out of getting stitches. And once he finished getting stitches, they just got him in there checking up on him if he's got concussion or anything like that. And I was like, well, all right. Sounds like he's all right. They didn't want to answer my question because I was like, how long do you think it's going to be till he gets out? But they were like, we can't give you that kind of information. Who are you? I was like, and I gave him my real name. For some reason, because I felt like it wouldn't be on the police report because the police didn't ask for my name. They only asked for that guy's name and the other guy's name. So I felt clear. So I gave him my real name. And they're like, "And what are you to this man?" I was like, "I am absolutely nothing but a friend to this man. His mother's out here with me. I'm across the street smoking a cigarette. And I called just to check up on him." And he's like, "Well, we can't give you no more information," and hangs up.
He just said I'm his cousin.
I felt like being honest, man. Well, I go across the street back to where everybody's at, where the ladies at and I'm at. And I tell her what happened right there. And I hang out for a little bit longer. I'm like, "Man, where's this lady at?" Because I'm still waiting on the baby mama to show up. And she hasn't showed up. But at this point, I need to go to the restroom. So I go back into the reception. Talk to Buddy that told me where to go and smoke. And I asked him, the most serious face I ever had, "Can I use your restroom?" He's like, "Yeah, man. You can just walk around back. And it's right there. First one to your left."
You look so solemn, just like.
Well, I didn't think they let me inside the hospital after they done said that they wouldn't let me inside.
Just like, I need a bathroom.
Cause I really had to go. So yeah, I go back there, freaking go to the stall to go and use the restroom, like how a regular man is supposed to use the restroom. And as soon as I start tinkling, this lady calls me. But at the time, I'm like, man, should I answer? Should I not? Should I answer? Should I not? I'm like, fuck it. I freaking answer while I'm still tinkling. So it's like, "What's up?" She's like, "I'm here." I'm like, "I'm in the restroom." I hope she didn't hear none of that, you know. But I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in the restroom. I'll be out in a second." She's like, "Well, all right." And I'm like, hang up. And I'm like, well, fuck that bitch. I still got to finish going. So I freaking finished using the tinkling. And once I finish tinkling, that's when I go wash my hands and whatnot. Wash them nice and good. Walk out there. I see a car that I never recognized. Like, right in front of me. As soon as I walk out. I knock on the window. It was the baby mom. And then that's when she hops out. But I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I thought I told you to bring a sweater. It's kind of cold. Because she was in a dress that breaks down to like right here and whatnot. And I was in a t-shirt like this one and shorts. I was freezing my ass off already. So I was like, nigga, you're going to be freezing over here and then complaining about it being cold. And I done told you to get a fucking sweater. So yeah, she hangs out. We're talking. We're trying to look up her bond. We call a couple bondsmen, and they tell me is, well, we don't see him still. We don't see that they registered his name yet. So he's still in book. They might not still have him registered. He might still be in booking. So we can't do nothing until his name is passed through the website. And I was like, what website? They're like, this website. of the inmate list. And I was like, well, that's the same website I seen before calling you guys. So, yeah, there's no reason to call you guys. I'll just look it up myself and see when they do that. If you're going to do the same thing I'm doing. So I was like, well, all right. That's what we do. We done went through every Allen. We done went through every other person's name. I done looked. There was one that was almost close. Except for crossing the guard line charge. And I was like, that. And then the motherfucker was 4'8". I was like, man, that can't be him because I know the nigga I'm talking about that got locked up. This the baby daddy's taller than me, and I'm 5'8". So for him to be 4 foot something, a foot shorter than I am, nah, wrong person. It's got to be the wrong person. So it stays at that. Then the conversation between me and the baby mama ends up becoming, well, what do we do now? So we decide that the next course of action, because we can't do nothing now that we got Buddy in the hospital, we got other Buddy in the jail, so we're just waiting for his information to find out what's up. We decide we're going to look for the other guy that's missing. Because he went missing. And apparently he went missing because he went after Buddy that went to jail. So at that point, in my thought was, damn, he went after Buddy that went to jail. So my first assumption is he knocked him the fuck out somewhere on the road. Because they both took off walking. Well, apparently we finally decide that we're gonna leave Buddy's mom in the front of the hospital alone at like 2 a.m. Because we talked to her and we were like, I told her I didn't feel right leaving you alone here. And she's like, no, don't worry, I'm going to just hang out here. And there's a military, so like, who's really going to try and kidnap me?
The military.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But, so we decided to leave her. And we're like, here's our number, just in case you need to call us and whatnot. Because we were going to catch a taxi to go to the parking lot where they kidnapped her and get her car. So once we get there, that's when I look around the parking lot like, well, he's not laid the fuck out on this parking lot, so that's good news. And that's when we take off driving. We're driving around town looking for him. I'm looking at every street corner, freaking sidewalk, looking at people's yards to see if I see any fat motherfucker just laying on just laid the fuck out. We eventually make it back to the house, and we're like, that this whole incident happened at. And it's like, damn, we can't find him, so we don't know where the hell he's at. At this point, we're like, well, fuck it. I pull out my flashlight because I had a flashlight on me for some reason. And yeah, that's why you always carry one. Because you never know when this shit will happen. You need a flashlight.
Don't you always have one on you?
Now, you understand why I always have one on me. Because now, we went and looked at the car where everything happened. I shone that flashlight and looked on the ground. Blood everywhere on the ground. We shone it inside the car. There was blood on the door, on the dash, on the freaking steering wheel, on the center console, windows, everywhere except where Buddy was sitting when it happened, when it started, because you couldn't get blood behind him, you know. So that's why the seat was pretty alright. So after looking at all that, that's when the baby mom was like, God damn, this looks like somebody just got shot in this car. And we're like, yeah, it does look like a murder scene. But no one died, so it just looks that way. Yeah. And that's when we both come into an agreement that we got to clean all this blood before daybreak. Why? Because we were in a white neighborhood. When police showed up late that night, there was arguing and fighting and a lot of crying.
Let the white people think we got murdered.
And we're standing in front of a somewhat looking murder scene. So we felt like it was a good moment to clean before they think that someone did get killed. And it becomes worse than it is.
It would be even worse, especially if someone comes up to you while you're midway cleaning it. So it's like.
But look, wait. Because I go inside the house, right? And it occurs to me, I never looked around the house to make sure if Buddy that we lost ever even made it home. So I opened the doors to his room, leave them open because he's not in there. I freaking walk into the other room, open them, nothing. All right. Freaking walk into the other room, open. No, that door was open, so I didn't have to open that door. There's, I guess I could call him their roommate now because he lives with them. I could have sworn he was on porn, but he swears he was watching TikTok. But
either or.
I'm pretty sure he was watching porn. He won't admit it to me right now. I might get a comment on this saying, motherfucker, it was TikTok, not porn. But
if he still cares, I don't think
I still believe it was porn. Well, short story right there was I walk into the door and I look at him and I'm like, hey, Buddy's in the hospital. And I turn around and walk off. And he's like, what? What? And starts chasing me down the hall like, what the fuck are you saying? You don't just walk in here saying calmly.
Like, you don't just come here and say my mother was murdered and leave.
And walk away like it's casual conversation. You know? Like, I could understand you walking in and being like, oh, I forgot the milk. That makes sense. But, oh, Buddy's in the hospital. And then walk the fuck away. What the hell, man? So, yeah, that's when he makes it over there where I'm in the kitchen. I explained to him everything that happened and where we're at this point. Well, he knows exactly what to do. Because he goes to the drawer where they have all the cleaning supplies. Pulls out freaking Clorox wipes, pulls out bleach soap and shit, pulls out the scrub, pulls out fucking gloves to go to your elbows and shit. I kind of felt like he's done this before. Because he starts telling me exactly what the fuck to do to clean all that blood and whatnot, and how long to leave the Clorox sitting and whatnot, and this and that. I'm like, God damn. I know people call me Dexter, but I felt like they called me Dexter because of Dexter's Laboratory, because everybody thought I was smart. But right now that I'm on my knees scrubbing fucking blood off concrete, and I got the baby mama sitting in the driver's seat cleaning the blood off of the dash, while the roommate is cleaning the blood off the door. I'm like, man, now I really feel like Dexter the serial killer. Like,
okay, that man either is a serial killer, has a lot of sisters, or is really the cleanest.
no, what he tells me is, hey, you kind of have to learn how to clean blood when you got kids. I'm like, what? How the fuck am I supposed to know? I ain't got no fucking kids. And yeah, we stay cleaning for a little bit. And that's when I'm like, man, I've been sober this whole fucking time. I'm still sober. Fuck this shit. Fuck this bullshit. We finally clean all the blood. Baby mama's like, the sun's about to rise. I need to get back home before my babies wake up. So, yeah, if y'all find out any information, hit me up and let me know. And I was like, well, I'm like, man, fuck this shit. Your baby daddy done put me on the wrong mood at the wrong time at the wrong night. So, give me that man's weed. I'm going to smoke it. So she leaves, and then me and the roommate go to the back of the house to start smoking weed. But that's when I'm like, damn, we need a Rillo. We need a freaking Rillo. He's like, well, I ain't got no freaking Rillo. I'm like, damn, what if we break a cigarette and smoke out a cigarette? He's like, nah, man, it burns too quick. Fuck that. And that's when we're like, boom, apples. So we freaking grabbed an apple to smoke out of an apple. The only problem is we could not find the fucking pen. So we go into Buddy's room that's lost. Look through everything. Nothing. Can't find nothing. That's when we decide to go into his buddy that's in the hospital's room to look in there. Well, I look everywhere. Don't see nothing, right? I go to this one drawer that's miraculously in like a random corner by itself. Like, ain't been fucked with or anything. Just, it's there. Alright? And it didn't occur to me to think anything much about the drawer. I figured it was like a sock drawer or something. Alright? Or I'd find his porn magazines in there or something like that, you know? But I was looking for a pen. Just so you know what I was looking for. I was looking for a pen. Well, I opened the first drawer. I see rags and whatnot. Don't really think much about them because they're just rags. Close it. That's when I opened the second one. And I really don't look at it that close because I'm looking for a pen, moving shit around and close it. That's when I'm like, whoa. What the fuck did I just see in that drawer? Freaking open it again slowly. Because I was like, did I just see what I thought I saw? And I open it up and I look again. And I'm like, what the fuck? Start grabbing shit. And start pulling shit out and unfolding it. And I noticed they're bras. They're all fucking bras. I'm over there unfolding all of them, grabbing them, freaking like. I turn around like, bro, did you know that this cat's got a whole drawer of bras? Like, does he have some kinky shit because of the bras, or like, has he been sleeping with that many women that he collects some, or?
My first thought would have been, he wears these, doesn't he?
That's what I was getting to, because he's got man boobs, so I figured he'd wear them, but
He
like,
has nice lifting shit.
like keeping it a secret or something, you know, type of shit, like. So they didn't look sagging, they'd be like a little puffy, you know, I guess. And that's when his roommate's like, hey man, you might want to close that drawer. And I was like, why? They're just bras. And he's like, but what I'm about to tell you might shock you. But before I tell you, close that drawer. And I'm like, okay. So like, I fold everything back nice and neat and close it. And he's like, I don't know if I should tell you this. Should I tell you this? Like, motherfucker, you've already piqued my interest. And you've already got me hooked in finding out what the fuck I did wrong. So tell me at this point. It's like, bruh, look at the top of the drawer. Why would he have a box full of, like, these kettles, these little pieces to make Jamaica? And see the bag right next to it? Why would he have a whole bag full of cinnamon to make, like, canela? And he's like, who in this house would have this shit and use it? And it occurred to me, his mom. So I spent like 15 minutes playing with his mom's bras. And when I closed that shit, I'm like, what the fuck, nigga? Let's get out of here before I do anything else, before I go any further down that drawer. And we take off. Fucking, we're back outside. And we're hanging out. That's when I get a call. You'll never guess from who I get a call. It's his mom. And she's calling from the hospital. She's like, hey, it's almost time for his dad to go to work. So do you think you could wake him up? Because he doesn't know what's been going down. Yeah, he was asleep through all this shit. And we wake him. That's when I'm like, fuck, I gotta go and wake him up. So fuck it. I start walking inside, and that's when Buddy's like, hey, I'll buy you breakfast if you freaking go to the door and just clack, 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 immigration. That's when I look at him. I'm like, you buy me breakfast? For real? So I take off walking. But once I get there, I don't fucking do it. I punk out. I don't fucking do it. What I end up doing is just a little baby tap. And then I crack the door open. And I'm like, hey, mi rey, ya es hora. And close it. While I was closing it, you can see him just... like, what the fuck just happened? So we walk back outside, and now we're just standing up there waiting for him to come. Because as soon as I get to the door, I'll walk over there. I'm like, hey, you don't have to buy me lunch. I didn't do it. And I tell him what I did instead. And he starts cracking up. So at that point, we're just hanging out because we don't want him to see us smoking. So once he shows up, that's when he's like, hey man, where's my son? And we look at him. We're like, we don't know. They're like, wasn't he with y'all? And I was like, yeah, but we were at a party and he was like, hey man, you think you could be the designated driver? And I was like, yeah. And I guess he just started really drinking. And once he started to really drink, he just disappeared. He's like, and all his dad says, because he's not even worried about his son, because his only comment is, well, at least y'all had a designated driver.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
I don't know either. Because the designated driver didn't even have them in the car. And that's when we finally get rid of him. So we have the house to ourselves. That's right when we're about to freaking smoke. You know who pops in through the window? Through the fucking door? Buddy that was in the hospital, so they discharged him. But when we see him, we're shocked.
Alive?
No, not even, no, that wasn't even our response. Our response was, who the fuck are you? He got his face so beat in that it molded and changed his whole fuck how he looks. That he looked like a completely different person.
Oh my god, free facelift.
And nah, he turned around. And once he turned around, we're like, oh, it's you. It's you. You look like a stranger for us for a second. And at that point, his mom comes. She looks disappointed and worried, like, the fuck happened? But the story is still, that nigga fell. So she still doesn't know what happened. I think she has an idea, but she'd rather keep the idea that he just fell. So we kept that. And that's when, yeah, we catch him up with what's been going on so far. And once we catch him up, that's when me and his roommate finally start smoking. And at that point, we started talking about the whole night, what happened, goofing off. And it occurs to us, hey man, we still haven't found your brother that's been missing all night. And we're like, damn, where could he be? Who could he be with? So we start calling people up. No one's answering. We finally get people to answer. Hey, you think he's in so-and-so place? Well, we got other cats checking up, seeing where he might be. But that's when we get a disturbing text message. Hey, check the police website and see if he's locked up. Never occurred to us if he might be locked up. So we jump on that shit real quick. We look him up. We even made up last names to look him up under. Because we used the two last names that he usually goes by. And at that point, we're like, fuck, they're not working. So we just started typing in random last names, see if he pops up. But nope, couldn't find him. We're like, well, at least he's not locked up. 10 minutes after we have that whole squabble, this motherfucker just walks in the door. And everybody just looks at him without a care in his face. He's like, hey, you guys, what's up? y'all still up? And we all look at him. We're like, where the fuck you been? We've been looking everywhere for you. And all he says is, oh, I was just down the street with a friend. So all fucking night, he's been down the street. Tell me, does that not sound like the Hangover? Huh? Because we found Alan.